Jake Sullivan was not your typical pilot. He was good at what he did, flying fast ships through space, avoiding dangers and following orders. But today, his job felt different. He was assigned to escort a very important alien delegation from the Lysari Empire. The Lysari were a proud, advanced race from a distant star system, known for their beauty, wisdom, and strong culture. And at the center of this group was the Princess Nira. Jake had seen pictures of Nira before she arrived. She was tall, with skin that shimmered like silver under light. Her eyes were deep and purple, calm but full of power. She moved with grace, and her presence felt heavy, as if the whole room listened when she spoke. Jake was just an Earth pilot, and he felt nervous around her. The Lysari ship landed at the space station, orbiting Earth. Jake stood on the platform waiting to greet them. When Nira stepped out, she smiled gently at Jake. That smile made Jake's heart race. Quickly reminded himself to stay professional. "Welcome to Earth," Jake said, trying to sound calm. "Thank you, Jake," Nira replied softly. "We hope this visit will bring peace between our worlds." The ceremony went smoothly at first. Jake and the Lysari delegation moved through the busy station, shaking hands and sharing polite words. But then came the accident. Jake was showing Nira the controls of his ship asleek. Fast fighter used for quick patrols around Earth's orbit. She was curious and fascinated. Jake enjoyed explaining everything. Suddenly a warning light flashed. "Watch out," Jake shouted, but Nira, unfamiliar with Earth technology, accidentally pressed the wrong button. The ship jolted violently. Alarms rang out. Jake barely caught the controls to stop the ship from spinning out of control. The passengers screamed, and Nira's eyes widened in shock. When the ship finally steadied, Jake breathed a sigh of relief. But then the worst happened. Nira grabbed Jake's arm. "I'm sorry," she said, voice trembling. "I did not mean to cause trouble." Jake smiled awkwardly. "It's okay. Accidents happen." But as they prepared to land, Jake noticed something strange. Nira was looking at him with a soft, strange expression. Then she said quietly, "Jake, there is a tradition in my culture after moments of great stress. We... connect deeply with those who help us." Jake blinked. "Connect?" Nira's cheeks flushed faintly. "Yes, it is a bonding ritual. Creates strong ties between two beings." Before Jake could ask more, Nira stepped closer. Suddenly, she touched his hand, then his face. The warmth between them surprised him. Jake felt a strange pull inside, something neither of them could explain. The ritual didn't last long, but it changed something. From that moment, Jake and Nira felt a new connection. It was like their souls had quietly promised to watch over each other. Jake tried to brush it off as a cultural misunderstanding, but Nira's happy smile told a different story. Back on Earth, the delegation stayed in a luxurious hotel. Jake was assigned to stay nearby, ready to assist. Days passed, and Jake noticed Nira often sought him out. They talked about their worlds, their hopes, and fears. Jake was surprised to find he understood her more than anyone else in the delegation. Evening. During a quiet walk in a garden under the stars, Nira stopped. "Jake, I want to be honest with you," she said softly. Jake nodded. "Me too." Nira took a deep breath. "Our people believe in the power of fate. Meeting you was not a mistake. It is a sign of something bigger." Jake laughed nervously. "I'm not sure I believe in fate, but I do believe you're special," Nira smiled. And in that moment, Jake felt something shift inside him. They stood close, under the silver light of the moon, and the universe seemed to hold its breath. The next day, news came from Lysari scientists. They confirmed something incredible. Nira was pregnant. The child was growing quickly, with DNA from both species. This was a surprise, even for the Lysari, who had advanced knowledge of biology. Jake was shocked. He didn't know how to react. The encounter in the ship, the ritual, could it really lead to this? But Nira was radiant. "I am happy, Jake. This child is a new hope. Our peoples will unite because of it." Jake's world turned upside down. What would Earth say? Would the Lysari Empire do? And how would he, just a simple pilot, protect this unexpected new family. He looked at Nira, her face glowing with hope and courage. And for the first time, Jake believed that sometimes mistakes could lead to the greatest adventures. The news spread quickly. The Lysari Empire announced that Princess Nira was expecting a child with Jake Sullivan, an Earth pilot. The whole galaxy buzzed with surprise. For humans, it was unbelievable. For the Lysari, it was a miracle, a symbol of unity. But for Jake, it was a heavy burden. Jake sat alone in the quiet room of the space station hotel. He stared at the message blinking on his communicator. It was from his commander back on Earth. "How are you handling the situation? The higher-ups want you to stay close to the princess. You're key to this alliance now." Jake sighed. He never asked for this kind of responsibility. All he wanted was a simple life, flying his ship and following orders. But fate had other plans. Nira entered the room softly, her silver skin glowing under the soft light. She smiled at Jake, full of warmth and hope. "We will face this together," she said gently. Jake nodded. "No. I want to protect you. Protect the baby." Nira's eyes sparkled. "Right. That is why our peoples must learn to trust each other." In the following days, Jake and Nira spent more time together. They talked about their cultures, their dreams, and the future. Jake learned about the Lysari, their respect for life, their ancient traditions, and their desire for peace. Nira listened to stories about Earth, about human strength and resilience. Despite the strange situation, they grew close. Jake felt a deep respect for Nira. She was brave, kind, and wise beyond her years. Nira saw in Jake a protector and a friend she could trust, but not everyone was happy. The Lysari Empire was large and divided. Some factions feared the child. A mix of human and Lysari might upset the balance of power. Others on Earth saw the alliance with suspicion, worried about unknown alien influences. One morning, as Jake prepared to meet the Lysari Council, his communicator beeped urgently. It was a warning. Threat detected. Security breach near the palace. Jake's heart raced. Was someone trying to harm Nira or the unborn child? He rushed to the palace, where he found the security teams in chaos. A small group of rebels had broken through the outer defenses, chanting slogans against the union of human and Lysari. Jake stepped forward, his presence commanding attention. This child is a symbol of hope. We must protect the future, not fear it. The rebels hesitated but did not stop. Jake quickly took command, coordinating with Lysari guards. Together, they subdued the intruders without bloodshed. The palace remained safe, but the threat was clear. Later, in a private meeting, Nira's mother, Queen Vela, spoke with Jake. "You have done well to protect my daughter. Beware, the road ahead will not be easy." Jake nodded. "I will do whatever it takes." Queen looked at him thoughtfully. This child could change everything. If enemies succeed in harming her, it could mean war. Jake swallowed hard. The weight of the future rested on his shoulders. Back in the palace, Nira rested but looked stronger than ever. She held Jake's hand. "Our child will bring peace." "Must believe that." Jake smiled, feeling hope rise within him. He decided to learn more about the pregnancy, to prepare for any challenge. The Lysari scientists invited Jake to their labs. There they showed him advanced technology monitoring Nira's condition. The child was growing rapidly, stronger than any normal pregnancy, one scientist explained. The DNA from both species is combining in ways we never imagined. The child's body adapts quickly, gaining the strengths of both. Jake was amazed and a little scared. Could this child be the key to peace, or a target for enemies? In the following weeks, Jake trained with the palace guards. He learned Lysari combat techniques and defensive strategies. Every day he grew stronger and more determined. Nira appreciated his efforts. One evening, she said softly, "You are more than a pilot now. You are part of our family." Jake looked into her eyes and saw a future he never dreamed of, one filled with hope, challenges, and a new kind of love. But danger still lurked. Reports came of rival empires watching closely, seeing the human Lysari child as a threat to their power. Jake knew that protecting Nira and the child would mean fighting battles beyond space and politics. As he stood beside Nira, looking at the stars, Jake whispered, "Whatever comes, we face it together." Nira smiled. "Together we are strong." So, the journey of an accidental father and an alien princess began, a journey that would test their courage, hearts, and the fate of two worlds. The weeks passed, and Jake found himself changing. A simple pilot who had been nervous and unsure was now a protector and a friend too. Princess Nira, he spent his days learning about Lasari culture and his nights guarding the palace. He had never imagined that an accidental encounter would lead to this, a bond that felt stronger than anything he had known. Nira was glowing with health. Her pregnancy was progressing faster than any human pregnancy, but she carried herself with grace and strength. Jake watched her carefully, learning the signs of her needs and moods. He knew that their child was special, a living bridge between two species. One afternoon, Jake sat with Nira in the palace gardens. The air was warm, and strange flowers bloomed all around them. Nira smiled, her eyes calm and bright. "Jake," she said softly, "you have taught me much about humans, about courage and kindness." Jake laughed. "And you've taught me about hope and patience." They sat in silence for a moment, the soft sound of a nearby fountain filling the space. Nira reached out and took Jake's hand. "Our child will be a symbol of unity. But it is not just the child, it is us together." Jake nodded. "I never thought I'd find this, but I'm glad I did." The palace was not just a home now, it was a place where two very different worlds came together. Jake found himself drawn deeper into Lasari society. He attended meetings with the council, learning about their politics and their fears. Some members welcomed the union. Others were openly hostile. One day, Jake overheard a conversation between two council members. "This hybrid child threatens our traditions," one said harshly. "We cannot allow this." Jake clenched his fists, but stayed quiet. He knew that changing centuries of belief would take time to strengthen their bond. Nira invited Jake to a Lasari ritual called the Star Blessing. It was a ceremony where the parents to be publicly promised to protect their child and their peoples. The ceremony was held under the open sky, where stars glittered like diamonds. Lasari priests chanted softly as Nira and Jake stood together. They placed their hands over Nira's belly, feeling the child move. The crowd watched in silence, and then applause broke out. Many Lasari saw this as a new beginning, a sign that peace was possible. Jake looked at Nira, her eyes shining with hope. "We'll protect our family," he whispered. Nira smiled. "And our worlds." However, danger was never far. News came that a rival empire, the Zarkon Dominion, was moving closer to Lysari space. They viewed the human Lysari child as a threat to their control and planned to attack. Jake reported this to the Lysari Council. "We must prepare. War is coming." The council was divided. Some wanted to fight, others hoped to negotiate. Jake realized that the child's birth was changing everything, but not everyone wanted change. He trained harder with the palace guards, learning to fight with new weapons and strategies. Nira also took part in defense lessons, proving she was not just a princess, but a warrior for her people. One evening, while Jake practiced in the training yard, Nira approached him with a serious look. "Jake, I fear for our child," she said. "Quietly, the enemies will try to harm her." Jake stopped and took her hands. "We will stop them. Together." Their connection deepened, and Jake realized that this was more than duty. He cared for Nira and the child growing inside her in ways he had never expected. As the Zarkon fleet approached Lasari space, Jake and Nira prepared for battle. The palace was fortified, and the people were ready to defend their home and their future. On the night before the attack, Jake stood on the palace balcony, looking at the stars. He thought about Earth, about his family and friends. He felt a strange calm. Nira joined him. "No matter what happens, our child will live." Jake smiled, taking her hand. and we will fight to make sure of it. The dawn brought the sound of ships. The battle was about to begin. The sky above the Lysari Palace darkened as the Zarkon fleet entered their system. Thousands of enemy ships spread like a shadow across the stars. The once peaceful space station now buzzed with urgent activity, alarms ringing, guards rushing, and commanders shouting orders. Jake stood on the bridge of the Lysari flagship, heart pounding. This was no longer just a political dispute. It was a fight for survival. He looked at Princess Nira, who stood beside him, her silver skin glowing. Softly, despite the tension, "We can do this," Jake said quietly. "For our child, for peace." Nira nodded. "Our people believe in us." The first wave of Zarkon fighters came fast and deadly. The Lysari ships responded with swift maneuvers, lasers firing in brilliant bursts.
Ow.
Jake took control of his fighter. Weaving through enemy fire with sharp skill, despite the chaos, Jake's mind was calm. He focused on protecting Nira and the palace. His training and new strength guided him as he fought alongside Lysari pilots. But the Zarkons were relentless. They wanted to break the Lysari spirit by targeting the royal family. Reports came that a small enemy squadron had landed near the palace grounds. Jake and a team of elite guards rushed to defend the palace. As they moved through the corridors, the quiet tension was broken by sudden explosions. The enemy had found a way inside. Jake's gun fired steady bursts, taking down invaders who tried to breach the inner sanctum. He moved quickly, protecting Nira and the royal family as they evacuated to a safe room in the safety of the chamber. Nira's hand rested protectively on her belly. Jake looked at her, seeing both the strength and the vulnerability in her eyes. "We will protect her," Jake promised. No matter what. But the danger was not over. The Zarkon forces had spies within the Lysari court. One of the council members, a man named Varen, betrayed his people and gave the enemy information. Jake discovered this during a secret meeting. Varen was confronted by Jake and the loyal guards. "You betray your own blood," Jake said firmly. Varen sneered.
Gods.
"Hybrid child is a threat to us all. I serve the future of our empire." Jake shook his head. "Your future is blind if you destroy hope." The betrayal was a blow, but it also brought the loyal Lysari together. Nira's supporters rallied to protect the child and their home. As the battle outside raged, Jake and Nira prepared for the worst. Nira's strength surprised everyone. She refused to hide. She trained, learned to use Lysari weapons, and stood beside Jake in every fight. One night, as explosions shook the palace, Nira looked at Jake and said, "I am ready to fight for our child's future." Jake smiled. "You already are." The enemy's final attack was brutal. The Zarkon fleet aimed to destroy the palace's defenses and capture the royal family. Jake led a squadron of fighters in a desperate battle above the planet. Laser fire lit the dark sky. Ships exploded in flashes of light. Jake's fighter dodged a missile, his hand steady on the controls. Suddenly, an enemy ship closed in, locking weapons on Jake's craft. He fired quickly, hitting the enemy's engines. The ship spiraled out of control and crashed into the nearby mountains. Breathing hard, Jake returned to the palace. The battle was won, but at a great cost. The palace was damaged and many brave Lysari were lost. Yet the royal family and the unborn child were safe. In the quiet aftermath, Jake and Nira held each other. The trials had brought them closer, binding their hearts. "Our child will grow in a world we fought for," Jake whispered. Nira nodded. "And one day, she will bring peace." Together, they looked out at the stars, a reminder that even in the darkest times, hope could shine brightest. The battle was over. The skies above the Lysari homeworld were calm again, but the fight had changed everything. The palace stood damaged, yet proud. Its people were weary, but hopeful. And in the heart of it all, Princess Nira prepared to bring new life into the galaxy. Jake stood beside her, his hand resting gently on her glowing belly. The child inside was more than just a symbol. She was a promise for the future. Nira smiled softly. "Soon, our child will be born. A new beginning." Jake looked at her with pride. "We've come a long way." The palace halls were filled with visitors from Earth and the Lysari Empire. Diplomats, scientists, and friends came to witness the birth of a new era, one that joined two worlds. Despite the peace talks and celebrations, Jake never let his guard down. He trained daily, ready to protect his family. But he also found moments to enjoy the simple joys, a shared laugh with Nira. You're watching the twin moons rise, or feeling the quiet strength of the life growing inside. One afternoon, as the sun cast golden light over the palace gardens, Nira felt the first true signs. The birth was near. Jake was there, steady and calm, as Lysari healers and scientists prepared the birthing chamber. The room was filled with soft light and gentle music, creating a peaceful space. Hours passed. Nira's breaths came fast, but steady. Jake held her hand, whispering words of comfort. Finally, with a cry that echoed through the chamber, their child was born. A beautiful baby girl with shimmering silver skin and deep, curious eyes. The room fell silent in awe. Nira smiled, tears in her eyes. She is perfect. Jake felt a new kind of love swell inside him. She's ours. The news spread quickly throughout the galaxy. The hybrid child was a miracle, proof that two very different species could come together to create something beautiful. Leaders from Earth and Lysari came to greet the newborn. They pledged to work together for peace and prosperity, but the journey was not over. Jake knew that the world outside still held dangers. Enemies lurked in the shadows, wary of change. One evening, as Jake watched the stars with his daughter in his arms, Nira joined him. "She will grow strong," she said, "stronger than we imagined." Jake smiled. "She'll bring peace." Together, they dreamed of a future where humans and Lysari walked side by side, their differences no longer dividing, but uniting them. The child cooed softly, reaching out to Jake's face. In that moment, Jake felt the power of hope and love, a force greater than any war or fear. As the twin moons rose above the palace, a new dawn began for the galaxy. A dawn where an accidental father and an alien princess had changed the stars forever.